Hi. Firstly, thank you to the organizers for organizing this great event and for accepting us to present our work, to be able to be here. The talk will be about sampling orthogonal and symplectic invariant ensembles, and it is joint work with Professor Miroslav Verbic of University of Ljubljana. The outline of the talk: firstly, I will set up the initial definitions, present skew-orthogonal polynomial results and Riemann-Hilbert problem for orthogonal and symplectic invariant ensembles, present the algorithm that was the groundstone for our work. It is listed as open problem in random matrix theory to extend it to such type of matrices. I will present our algorithm, the extension, how it works, a basic experiment and validity result, and improvements of the algorithm to possibilities, clear possibilities that open up, and conclude also with some additional possible extensions. Invariant ensembles consist of three types: unitary, orthogonal, symplectic. Above you have the basic definition of invariance in terms of random matrices. The formula for the invariant ensemble, for probability distributions of invariant ensembles, is listed here. The potential of the matrix includes the beta parameter, and this beta can be multiple type. Most known are 1 orthogonal invariant ensembles, 2 unitary, and 4 symplectic invariant ensembles. For the unitary invariant ensembles, the eigenvalue distribution follows a determinantal point process. It can be expressed using determinant of different kernels. Each of those kernels can be expressed as product of two polynomials, and each of them can additionally be expressed in terms of orthogonal polynomials of order J. The basic Christoffel-Darboux formula, summing formula, is known for long for those type of kernels, and also the generalized formulas for orthogonal and symplectic invariant ensembles are known. The orthogonal and symplectic ensembles do not follow determinantal but Pfaffian point processes. They rely not on orthogonal but skew-orthogonal type processes and skew-symmetric matrices. And basically, here you see the generalized Christoffel-Darboux formulas that can be used in those cases, and the skew-orthogonal polynomials in those matrices follow recursive processes, which can be used sometimes to derive their values. The universality properties for such type of matrices have been studied, and the final resolution has been found starting in 2010 by Gribauer and Sherbina, in 2011 by Sherbina. The Pfaffian process features different kernels. They consist of 4 elements for both processes, for orthogonal and symplectic invariant ensembles, 2 different type of Pfaffian processes, and 2 different such matrices are constructed for odd and even orthogonal invariant ensembles. But all of those elements can be expressed again in terms of the phi and the psi, the 2 skew-orthogonal type polynomials that are used in Pfaffian processes. And those processes relate to each other. The densities from which we sample from, also in our algorithm, we need the level density, which, as it turns out, for orthogonal and symplectic ensembles has a very simple formula. It basically relies only on the top left element of the matrices of kernels that are provided to the top of the slide. And from those level densities, we construct spectral densities, and the spectral densities feature nice asymptotic properties, and we can sample from those spectral densities in our algorithms. Similar is done in Olver, and similar can be done in our cases. Finally, for initial values of the polynomials, Olver uses Chebyshev interpolations based on orthogonal polynomials on Riemann-Hilbert solutions. For our case, we use transformations of Riemann-Hilbert problem by Gauche, who transformed this into differential different deformation equations to derive the initial values, and use again the Chebyshev interpolations to derive nice initial values for the algorithms. The Olver's algorithm consists of two parts. The left part that you see in the middle here, the algorithm 1, samples determinantal processes starting from Chebyshev interpolations, initializing starting values, obtaining the last eigenvalue from the spectral density of orthogonal invariant ensemble, and basically constructing a null transformation to derive the orthogonal properties, and with recursive sequential process basically coming finally to the first eigenvalue, something from the first, one could say the last spectral density. Those eigenvalues derived here that determine the determinantal process are inserted in the second algorithm to the right. This algorithm constructs then the sample unitary matrix V from Haar distribution, and finally the output, the return, is the unitary invariant ensemble matrix using the unitary transformations that we defined at the start, and the proof of the validity is provided in the article of Olver, and very similar, not deriving on orthogonal properties, but skew-orthogonal properties. We experiment still with this, but most of it can be proven also in our case using appropriate transformations. Definition of a sampling. The method is sent to sample a Borel probability measure mu if it produces a non-random sequence of points such that the limit that you see here of the type of expected value is actually the value of this Borel probability measure on set B. We changed the definition of null transformation to skew transformation using Lie algebras in order to map or to basically enter the space of skew orthogonal transformations and matrices which relate to the orthogonal matrix groups, to the null products, but intermediary is this Lie algebra, which provides the key step for the validity of the working of our algorithm. We sample Pfaffian processes in the first step of the algorithm for beta 1 and 4. We start, as we mentioned, with appropriate Chebyshev interpolations, initialize the initial values for two types of polynomials, phi and psi, sample from the appropriate spectral density, use skew transformations, and then again proceed with sequential backward process. In the second part of the algorithm, basically, again, the eigenvalues of the first algorithm are inserted inside, and we then sample appropriate orthogonal or symplectic matrix V from appropriate distribution, and with appropriate transformations, which are basics of the invariant formulas, return the orthogonal final matrix to the left and the symplectic invariant ensemble that is listed on the bottom to the right. A study of the properties, as you see, we studied quartic potential, other potentials have also been tried. This is Gaussian ensembles. To the left and to the right, you see that the distributions quite closely follow the expected Tracy-Williams distributions. Those are the F functions. And the validity, as mentioned, can be shown similarly, but not with orthogonal formulas used at Olver, but with skew orthogonal properties, similar values, and the lemma a little bit transformed from the Olver can also be used. Finally, two possibilities that can be used to study this further. Apparent possibilities. Firstly, it could be possible to transform skew orthogonal to orthogonal polynomials using procedure of Cauchy, and the algorithm would then be similar to Olver, even more similar to Olver, with not the skew but the null transformations, and it would be interesting to study if such algorithm could have some different properties than our algorithm. Second possibility, as some of the differential different information equations are polynomial equations, Buchberger algorithm and some algebraic statistics can be used to reconstruct interesting different algorithm and to compare it with our algorithm. Those two possibilities are apparent possibilities for future work, I think, on the area. Finally, as said previously, this was an open problem. We provided the algorithm with some experiments and simulations with ideas how to approach it. It is still work in progress, but probably it is the right path to follow. And extensions derive us to additional Grobner basis for algebraic possibilities, different types of ensembles, different sampling algorithms, in particular neural networks, which have already been tried with a little bit similar problems. It would be very interesting to try. And the second possibility, already existing in the literature, to sample from unitary invariant ensembles by Lee and Menon, used a different type of Brownian motion, Dyson's Brownian motion, and if a similar type of process could be adapted. In this case, this second line of research could possibly also be explored if it would lead to an appropriate algorithm in this case. Thank you for listening, hoping we were not too long, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to present on the event.